It never rains, but it pours. That's more than just an old adage to comfort your friend on a turbo-lift ride. It's the truth, particularly in the mobile technology world. For us and for you, that means an avalanche of awesome reviews are about to land at Pocketnow.com. We'll talk a bit about this and cover the not insignificant news of the week on episode 091 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week audio podcast where we discuss smartphones, tablets, wearables, and other gadgets you dreamed of owning when you were young. From Boston, Massachusetts, I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, and I'm joined on today's show by the host of the Pocketnow Daily, our multimedia manager and good friend Jaime Rivera from Honduras. Welcome back, sir.
I'm always trying to memorize what you say at the beginning, and I really suck at it.
I tweak it a little bit each time. We're also joined by veteran time traveler Springdoor Fableflex from the year 2034, a.k.a. Chief News Editor Stephen Schenck. Welcome back to 2014, you intrepid explorer, you.
Thank you very much. What the flippity-floppity, Michael?
That is what they're saying in the future these days. That's a joke from Twitter yesterday, sprung from some staffing difficulties. If you follow us on Twitter, listeners, you will know what we're talking about. It's been sort of like hell to get this show staffed this week.
No, it's always a dream producing the weekly, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, it's something at least 20% of us look forward to at all times. But the staffing issues are crazy on this show because we are very, very busy this week, much more so than usual. And they mean that this show will be a little shorter than usual. They mean that our noise floor is a little higher than it usually is because we're not necessarily using the correct equipment. And they mean, finally, that we're going to kick off this episode with a quick rundown of announcements. So this list of announcements is almost entirely focused on reviews, and that's a great thing because we have so many coming soon. So we have the, probably most prominently, and you're starting to see reviews trickle out already from other outlets, the Galaxy S5 review is coming. I was about to say very soon. It's not coming very soon. It's coming soon because our supplier for this one, Clove Technology, has unfortunately had a shipping delay. So we're waiting for the S5 to come in. But as a bonus, we're also now waiting for two other devices related to that device to come in, the Gear 2 Neo and the Gear Fit.
Hey.
I know. We're going to be buried in new Samsung wearables. Powered by Tizen.
So who's going to be walking around town with the two wearable devices, one on each wrist at the same time?
I was just going to say, I wonder if Tony's going to do that. That's another wonderful benefit to this arrangement, is that Anton Dinoj, after a long, long time away from reviews, is going to be taking care of the Samsung material for us. So that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing his face again.
I'm curious to see what happens if you turn on the pedometer on both of those. Do they end up, being relatively close at the end of the day/week, or if
it depends on if you heavily favor one of your legs.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Depends on if you've been whacked by a golf club or something. If you've angered the mob. But in addition to those reviews, we have the Oppo Find 7A review that's coming soon. That'll be coming from my offices here in Boston. I know very little about that device, and I'm really excited to get to know it. There's another one we can't talk about, so we'll talk about that when we can talk about it. And finally, also coming is the Nokia X review. I'm also handling that one, and that is going to turn into a giveaway when we're done with it. So, yeah. God,
that one's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting, yeah. Go ahead.
This is the plain old X that you're going to be looking at, not the X
not
Plus?
the X Plus or the XL. Okay. I think it's just the plain old Nokia X, yeah.
Cool.
That one I think is coming from Negri, and it should be here today, I think. So, there's a lot of stuff on the horizon is the point. It's going to be massive. Now, we should also mention that there are some reviews already here. Our ZENS review week is underway. You guys know this, Stephen and Jaime, but we have a fun relationship with an accessory manufacturer called ZENS. They're a small little house that makes some really great stuff. We have already posted. What did I post? The
speaker.
Yeah, the Bluetooth speaker. The Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So it's not just a Bluetooth speaker with a great battery life, but it also has a Qi wireless charging plate on top, so you can drop your Qi-enabled phone on top. I really like the thing. That was a lot of fun to review.
I really want to like it too.
What?
There's a butt on the end of that.
Are you just mad that you can't? Do you want me to send you the unit?
I really want to like it too. Call ZENS. Come on.
I'll send you mine because I don't have much use for it, even though I like it very much. It just doesn't fit. I don't blast my tunes in public often. So, but anyway, I like it a lot. It could be good for a lot of things. And Taylor Martin had just reviewed the cup holder Qi wireless charger from them.
That's so weird.
What?
I don't know. I just found the design of it. It wasn't what you expect from a wireless charger. You're thinking,
Seriously.
it's a place. I'm going to drop it on. It's cozy.
It's cool, right?
Snug.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's a slot in a thing that fits into the cup holder, and you drop it into your car, and there it is. And I don't know. People who continue to rail against wireless charging, I was just so confused by, because why do you want to be in your car fiddling with a stupid cable on a USB, or holding it up to your ear with a coiled cord attached to the thing?
Why would you want to do that? Of course.
Why would you want to do that? So why not just drop the thing into your cup holder and say, "Oh, okay, it's charging," when it's in the cup holder, and I can pull it out whenever I want to deal with a stupid wire? I love it.
I just think it's wildly optimistic of ZENS to assume that our cup holders are not completely full of pennies and receipts and our
cigarette butts. And
wait a second, I thought I was the only guy that did that.
No, my concern was that they wouldn't make it large enough, because our cup holders are getting larger to accommodate our bucket-sized soft drinks at our American drive-thrus.
Yeah, big gulp.
Yeah, so I don't know. So anyway, that review week is underway. Those two reviews are already up, and Joe Levi's review of the more conventional ZENS wireless power, just kind of charging plate, is coming up soon. So we're going to have 3 ZENS reviews up this week. That's so much fun. I always love when a new or a smaller, a lesser known manufacturer comes in and we're able to review their stuff.
And we just don't do enough accessories in general.
That's what people have been saying in the comments, but it's tricky. It's a tough balancing act, because while we do enjoy doing them, obviously they don't get quite the audience that a mobile device review gets, and so it's
right. And we still want to put in the right amount of time in order to have a good review of it. So it's a balancing act of our priorities, I guess.
But it's really interesting to see the transition. I mean, when I used to be the guy that used to handle the things that we would review, we would do 90% accessories, 10% phones, 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at our reviews from 2008, that was because back then, how many smartphones were built?
Right.
It was a really small market back then. Yeah, 2007,
and we didn't go over, or the decision was made not to go over and start doing dumb phones back then. So
no,
you had to do accessories.
I remember we used to have this policy of doing 3 reviews a week, but then to fill that gap, just think about it. I mean,
wow. Color earbud is right for you.
Yeah.
So multiply 52 times 3 and think about how many phones were launched this year. And even if we tried to do that this year, it would be difficult.
It's absurd. I ended up this week with something like 12 or 13 phones littering my desk here. And I actually I came into my office to move something. I had a couple computers open. I had to push aside a wave of smartphones to put my computer down. And they're all new. They're not old school things. And yeah.
I'll trade it for my dirt anytime, dude.
I'm not complaining. It's a good time. What also already here, the HTC One M8 for Verizon. That review was done by Taylor Martin. I think it's one of his prettier reviews. The layout is gorgeous.
Yeah.
The photos are beautiful, and his conclusions, since they are in line with mine, are brilliant.
Convenient, that, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's a great review. You should watch the video, read the review if you're thinking of a Verizon-powered HTC One M8. I've spent a long time at AT&T because that's my personal line, my provider, and the one that works best for me here in Boston. But Verizon, man, they make a frickin' solid network.
They know how to put up a tower. Yep.
Yeah. They know how to erect a tower, indeed.
Boy, howdy.
And finally, to close out the announcements, also already here, finally, our BlackBerry 10.2.1 review. It sounds like an incremental upgrade. I wish they had called it something a little bit more bombastic, because this update is significant, and it's done a lot to improve the BlackBerry experience. So, in fact, I called the review 10 pounds of upgrade in a 5-pound bag. And that's what it feels like.
I'll tell you this much. I saw your video, and I was like, oh, my God, I should go pull out the Z10.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nah.
And then I canceled those plans. Well, I have the Z30 here, and I use that in conjunction with the Q10 to evaluate this review. And wow, what a great time. By the way, those 2 units are why I've spent more time at Verizon recently. Just of necessity, I had to. And I was like, oh, wow. Not only is this network cool, but this platform is really awesome now that I can install Android APKs as apps. But it's not quite as hassle-free as all that. Go ahead.
I'll tell you this much. It reminds me of Windows Mobile, man. I mean, there was a time when app stores didn't exist and you had to install the the cab files.
The cab files, right. Yeah. And with Palm, it was the same way. You had to sideload everything on the Palm OS.
Yeah. The PDB files.
Yeah.
There was one big exception I heard about in the past week, some high-profile app that wouldn't work with the BlackBerry sideloading.
Well, anything that requires Google Play services won't work. So Hangouts.
Office. Gmail. I want to say it's the free Office for phones. When they made the phone version of Office for Android available without a 365 account.
Oh, Microsoft Office.
Yes.
Oh.
I think that doesn't work on the BlackBerry, sadly.
Which would really suck, considering BlackBerry's market was once business
meat and
folks.
Potatoes. Yeah.
Well, at any rate, some of that is addressed, and there are just a lot of native UI enhancements that have done a whole lot to improve the BlackBerry experience, and you should check it out. So, that being said, we're now at a position finally where we have the announcements out of the way. We can start talking about the news. We have a trimmed-down rundown this week, but that doesn't mean there isn't a lot to talk about. So I will ask Stephen Schenck to kick us off with Android.
Down, run, down. All right, Android.
Trim down, run down, trim down. Yeah.
This is one. Okay, so a couple of days back, we heard a report out of South Korea, of course, Samsung, home turf here, talking about a little bit of a tiff Samsung had gotten itself into with the press over there. About not the images here, with the Galaxy S5 rumors. Specifically, we heard a bunch of rumors leading up to the phone's release about issues Samsung might have been running into with production of the hardware, warning, possible delays and all. And at least 2 distinct rumors looked at issues with the GS5's camera. Supposedly they were running into problems fabricating these super thin lenses that stack up and go above the sensor. Mm-hmm. Really low yield rates. They said it was like 20 or 30%. And then supposedly Samsung worked this out and there was another problem. But it doesn't seem like a big deal. These sort of stories, we hear them all the time. Every phone, any phone as big as the Galaxy S5, you're going to hear stuff about its production and the manufacturing process. And Samsung thinks that this particular incident is somehow out of line, and it is going after the news firm, the Electronic Times, ET News, and they're going after them in South Korea's. It's not a court; it's like an arbitration review board, but they're looking for like $300,000 in damages because of what they see as a misleading report with the potential to hurt GS5 sales.
Now, I wish we didn't have to go through Translate to see a lot of this, because it would be really nice to be able... Yeah, and when you shove something through Google Translate or whatever, it kind of eliminates the nuance. You can't tell exactly how the original story was presented. So I can't tell whether whose side to fall on this. But of course, my initial inclination is to say, wow, a publication posts a negative story and you decide to sue them. Now, this is not necessarily alien to anyone. I mean, we've heard we've heard of this a lot before, but I'm just
it's risky.
It's interesting because it carries the risk of backfiring, right?
Yeah, the Streisand effect is going to draw more attention to the problem if it is there. But
right,
I mean, is this actually a problem? We don't yet know if there really were these problems with the manufacturing. The news agency is standing by its report, saying, based on what we heard, our story was, completely above board. Samsung doesn't have a reason to be so upset here.
Can you imagine how many times we'd be sued over our reviews?
Right, of course. Right, yeah, exactly. Now, there's an interesting debate going on in the comments, and a kind of an interesting discussion happening down there about, things are different in South Korea. And I remember hearing that on the Galaxy S3 launch weekend or whatever it was, or week. When I was down in New York City, we were talking to some Samsung people, and there had recently been an exposure of some kind of illegal dealings by Samsung, some kind of price fixing or something. I don't really remember what it is. Yeah, but basically the way they solved it is by paying off the government. And this was,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, and this was the way this was being discussed was kind of very, because it was all a bunch of Samsung US folks, and they were basically saying like, yeah, things are very different over there. Doing business in that market is extremely different. That's about the most I can say about it. So it's like, okay, this seems to go hand in hand with the mentality of suing a media publication for posting essentially a rumor or a report that is negative. But
yeah, it's not clear if, we assume that Samsung would do this because the report is not factual, but maybe just hurt feelings is enough over there. I don't know. Right,
I don't know. And then you have other speculation saying that it wasn't the initial report, but the recharacterization.
Yeah, or their refusal to modify it and run a
run a correction or something like that.
Yeah. Which is the correct thing to do. I mean, you already wrote something. Stand by
it. If it's wrong,
well, if it's wrong, you should correct it. Obviously, I mean, every media outlet gets in that position from time to time.
Now, do you think it could have been a faulty unit or something? Because we've had that problem all the time.
It's never a faulty unit. Sorry, it's just never a faulty unit. Here's a list of problems, PR firm, that I've found with your review unit. Can you comment on it? We've never seen that before. Let's send you a different unit. Okay, thank you. Yeah. No. It's just crap. No, yeah. I don't know.
And we received the tablet again, and it doesn't reset itself to us. What's going on? That's odd. It reminds me of a specific OEM.
So things happen, and it's just like, oh god. So I don't know. I don't like the chilling effect this would have on the freedom of outlets to tell the truth about whether products are sucky or not. But this wasn't even a review. This is a news report about manufacturing difficulties. So this is kind of a different. I don't know. It's just scary. And there seems to be an interesting division in the comments it's about 50-50 between people who are like, yeah, this is scary, it shouldn't be happening, and people who think that the media already has too much influence over the way brands are perceived and that they deserve to get slapped in the face.
I was digging through our tips mailbox, and I found an interesting email a couple days back from someone claiming to be a manufacturing partner of Samsung and denying these reports of the camera problems.
Really?
It's interesting. This didn't come out until we ran the story about Samsung suing over this incident. It didn't happen when we originally ran it. It's coming from a Gmail account. There's no way to confirm this guy is who he says it is, who he is. But it's interesting that at least someone is responding so passionately to this news.
Yeah. It's very interesting stuff. We're going to have to see what comes of it initially. I wish we had a follow-up by the time we went on air today, but it looks like this is we're still working with original information. So maybe we'll update that, or maybe this will have enough meat for a new post if we hear anything. But shall we move on to the other bit of Samsung news?
Oh, silly little business.
I like this.
Yeah.
I like your headline.
Samsung patents a hole.
Samsung wonders, what if we just put a hole in a tablet?
Yeah, so there's this design patent that Samsung initially filed all the way back in 2012, but it only just got published by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Organization yesterday. And it's a tablet. It looks like a Galaxy Tab, as we're familiar with, and it's got this little hole in the bottom right corner. There's no explanation whatsoever as to what it's there for. And so I'm speculating wildly over what Samsung could possibly be up to here. Is this just like, do you just sort of hold it through the hole? Do you hook stuff onto it? Does it...
I like your stipulation that it might be like a painter's palette.
I mean, that would be cool if it was a little bigger. Get your thumb in there. My other thing, I didn't write it because it doesn't make much sense. But what if it was like to put a stylus in? It's just like it holds it upright,
like an inkwell on a turn of the century classroom desk. Yeah.
But
but it would have to have an angle for stylus. Like, you guys remember the old compact iPads? The dock used to have some
It does have a bit of an angle to it, because if I look at the rear renderings, the hole expands more on two sides than the other two. So it sort of does have a shape to it. It's not just straight through, but...
It's only for lefties.
It's a hole.
It's
bizarre. But then some commenters pointed out, and then you updated the post.
Our readers are very smart. Yeah, the Nook or Barnes & Noble has been doing something like this with the Nook. There are other, not necessarily the sort of tablets we cover all the time here that have been doing this. But I'm not sure why they did it either.
No, that's the thing. Like, why is it? I have always wondered why it's there on the Nook. Like, is it?
I looked at
It's
the
too
Nooks.
big to be a lanyard hole, right?
It's too big to be a lanyard hole. Exactly.
Yeah.
I assume that on the Nook's product page there would be some mention of this, like, oh, it's the awesome tablet hole 2009. No, nothing.
No,
it's probably Samsung's new technology for you to be able to see where you're walking with your tablet or something.
It's so you can more easily hang your tablet up to dry after it gets wet.
I was just gonna say it's one of those. I think that I don't understand why it's on the Nook HD. I'm looking at it and I've never understood it, and I wonder if it's just an aesthetic improvement or an aesthetic touch that Samsung decided to.
I mean, it is a design patent and not a functional patent.
Yeah.
But that Nook, doesn't it look like it's in a giant case more than anything?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's just weird. Anyway, maybe we'll see this come to pass. This is one of those things where it's like many patents are not leveraged, but it would be interesting to see this. I liked your speculation in the 2D sense, where it's like we're looking at it directly from the face, and it's like, yeah, this could be anything. It doesn't have to be a hole. It could be a giant knob.
There's no alpha channel in these black and white patent renderings here.
Anyway, all right. So what else is what's happening? Let's move on from Samsung. What's our next piece of news?
Now this is very interesting. Motorola names a new president and COO, Rick Osterloh. But so I'm trying to understand. I mean, the company got acquired by Lenovo. The transaction hasn't been made yet. It hasn't been finalized. But they have a new president. Wow. What exactly is Motorola right now is like the biggest question I have.
Well, I think that the idea was to install somebody for the transition to replace Dennis Woodside, and also to try to keep him on board after the acquisition closes.
Now, I think Dennis Woodside was only a CEO, not a president. This guy is president and COO.
President and COO.
Yeah, it's odd.
That is odd. Okay, I misread that. I'm sorry.
So there might be a Lenovo guy higher up, a CEO?
Could be.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would make sense, because I agree with Jaime. It is a little odd to have a personnel shift at this high level right before a merger, or at least I haven't seen it much.
I think it also makes sense for what Lenovo's been talking about, what they want to do with Motorola, that they want to have someone who's been around for the past couple years, relatively up close to the top leadership level to help steer where it's going, because they want it to be distinct from the Lenovo offerings.
Absolutely, and it absolutely should be. I really found it to be a little comforting that Rick Osterloh has been leading all product management. So he's had a big hand in the Moto X, right? Mm-hmm. In the what's the other bit? Not the Moto G, but there was something else that was interesting. Why is this story much shorter than the one I wanted to source to? Sorry, maybe I read, like, Tony's news story is like 2 paragraphs long, and I remember reading a piece that was much longer, and I guess I didn't read ours. What's the matter with me?
Wait, there are other smartphone websites than just Pocketnow?
Yeah,
is this what you're saying here?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is from Motorola. Rick is a Silicon Valley veteran and a familiar face across Motorola. He's been leading all product management and helping to define the go-forward strategy for the past 2 years. Oh, this is where I read it. I read it on Motorola's site. Okay, yeah. So he first joined Motorola 7 years ago, and between stints, he joined Skype. I guess that didn't work out too well. And then since his return, he's had a key role in the company's reinvigoration. He's been a guiding visionary on the entire product front and a passionate advocate for our philosophy to buzzword. But I really like his corporate profile headshot here as well. I think he looks exactly like the kind of guy who I would like to have a beer at a barbecue with.
He looks like Jake Busey is who he looks like.
He does a little bit.
Busey.
He does. He looks like he's down to have a good time. Like he looks like a fun guy. The commenters have been talking about that as well. I think there's some division about that, but I'm glad. I think one of my biggest concerns about Motorola going to Lenovo has been losing that distinctive Motorola identity that has led to things like the Moto X and will eventually lead to the Moto 360. And I really don't want to lose that, so I hope that this
absolutely.
move preserves that a bit, you know? So we will have to see. I just thought it was worth covering. We will see. In other news from other manufacturers, LG has there's been a leaked screenshot purportedly from the LG G3 showing a tweaked UI. Obviously, one of the things that LG is not really renowned for is software design.
It doesn't look too bad.
Really?
Well, it doesn't look too different either. Yeah,
no,
exactly. It's almost the same UI, flatter, but it still looks cheesy.
It does. Like the colors have been changed to something like a different stripe of ugly.
Off teal.
Yeah, right. It's like a teal. It's like an institutional green that was in the hallways of the 1940s instead of the 1930s.
Yeah. That looks like prison green.
Yeah,
that's
right.
The color we have.
Right.
But this does stand as potentially further evidence in favor of the 3G getting a 2K resolution screen, because this is definitely bigger than 1080p.
Oh, okay. And of course, and that would be very in character for LG to do that, right? They love being first to things. Obviously we talk about this every time we talk about LG, but so yeah, that could help them out. And Stephen, are we still looking at a possible early release for the G3?
I don't know. There hasn't been much talk about that lately. These rumors about it being in May or June are like a month or two old at this point, if not longer. So there hasn't been an update lately, but there hasn't been anything contradicting that either. So for now, we're keeping it in mind. Could be this quarter.
I think that would be really interesting, because when you posted this story, I kind of had this moment just briefly where I was like, oh yeah, LG. Because I was thinking once we get on the other side of the Galaxy S5, we have a pretty big gulf to go. But no, we've got LG and then Motorola. Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be good.
It'll be a good summer,
yeah.
The only thing I'm looking forward to is battery life. I guess for me, LG right now is synonym to battery life.
Oh, God, yes. I mean, the G Flex, the G2, they're both excellent for endurance. I mean, the G Flex more so, but yeah. Jaime, why don't you tell us about the HTC One M8, this new edition that might come for Sprint?
Well, I'm kind of confused about this because I thought it was going to be the Sprint HTC One M8 that would bring these special Harman Kardon. Did I pronounce that right? Speakers.
I think so. I never know how to Harman Kardon.
HTC has okay, so the phone is already available in retail stores for everyone, AT&T and Sprint. And I thought that the Sprint edition was going to bring this by default, but it seems that this would be a special edition that'll come out at some point. But I don't know, Stephen, do you...
Wait, did they promote this as such? Because I was under the impression that Sprint had not said one word about this yet, nor HTC, and this was
no. HTC has just confirmed that the phone is in retail stores. It's
right, but
that was the confirmation. But no,
there being a special edition for Sprint, I wasn't aware was a thing that had been said.
No, it hasn't been said. It's just something that got leaked on XDA, and
yeah.
It got leaked in XDA that there probably is a special edition coming, but I was the one that got confused and thought that the Sprint edition was going to be the phone. All Sprint phones were going to include this, but it turns out that no. Apparently, there will be a special edition coming soon. But again, this is just the leak. No, this is just the leak that was on XDA.
Everyone's confused.
And the leak on XDA seems to include some strings, support Harman flag in a configuration file, and some pretty convincing-looking UI here.
EvLeaks first posted that there's going to be this special edition, and then later these XDA guys chimed in, no, there's no special edition. It's the one that Sprint already has. It's just these special features aren't being prominently pushed. They're hidden away. You change a little line in an XML file, and all of a sudden you get this new setting for a couple Harman, K-Drone, EQ stuff. There's one that's supposed to make the sound less compressed. There's another one. It might just be software EQ features. There's no sign yet that the speakers themselves are fancier or anything like that.
So that's the thing. Like, what can you do that with software? Would Harman? I know nothing about Harman.
I mean, this is the whole Beats Audio stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, right. It is, but it's a company with maybe a better reputation, a company that's maybe a bit better respected among audiophiles, I guess. But can you do that with just software? I mean, I guess you can. I think it's interesting.
Is it worth it to do? Is the question.
Yes. And I think that it will fall to us to determine whether it's worth it. It'll be interesting to get our hands on one of these. And I also wonder if this goes hand in hand with an event Sprint has been advertising for New York City for the end of this month, where they've basically sent out these cryptic invitations that say, come hear it for yourself. And they have a lot of like waveform on them. It's obviously an audio event.
It is very interesting.
Isn't it? And we've been thinking that it's Sprint getting ready to launch its nationwide HD voice network or whatever for ultra clear phone calls. And it may well be that, but
Can it be both?
I was going to say, can it be both? I mean, wouldn't it... If you had something like this waiting in the wings, the special HTC One M8 with a new brand name audio experience, wouldn't you want to unveil that in conjunction with something else like that?
Well, in conjunction with the phone's launch. It's bizarre that this isn't official already.
Yeah, it is weird. I don't know, but then it's Sprint. You never know what the hell they're going to do. I mean, they'll come out with something crazy like this, and then they'll either botch the launch or they'll launch something excellently that nobody cares about. You know, Sprint is always a mixed bag. You never know what's going to happen with them, and I guess that's the case with a lot of carriers. But
wild card.
Yeah. Let's talk about... Yeah?
Go ahead.
I was going to say let's talk about Facebook, but if you had a closing point on that.
No, it's just Sprint has been doing that for the longest time. They try to do exclusives all the time, and that's great. You know,
and sometimes it works out. Like
sometimes it does.
It didn't work out for the Palm Pre, but it worked out for the Evo 4G.
I knew you were going to say that. It's like, I was like, well, I'm waiting for Palm Pre. I'm waiting for Palm Pre. What time is
it's for everyone out there playing the Pocketnow Weekly drinking game. You have to drink when I talk about WebOS.
You have to speak your Kool-Aid, right?
That's exactly right. I have to remind everyone where all their fun innovations came from. Hey, Facebook is going to start forcing itself on users. Right?
Well, here's the thing. It's like,
sorry. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. For those of you that didn't know, probably all three of you out there in the world that didn't know that Facebook had a messenger. So the company, and this is funny, they are going to force, but they're going to force something that's already actually working on iOS. Like if you're on the Facebook application and you get a private message, you can't respond to it from the Facebook application. Whenever you tap the messenger, it'll launch the application on the side, and it'll give you this option to go back to Facebook whenever you want. But it's been working like that on iOS for like about a month or two. So they're planning to implement this on Android. And I was like, wait a second, so Android can't do this? So since I've been starting to use an Android phone as my primary phone lately, I started noticing that on Android you really can't do that. It's like you can choose to either use the messenger or use the app, but it defeats the purpose of having a separate application when you can still do it on the Facebook app. And obviously they want to push this Facebook application because you can do SMS messages. Yeah, you can do SMS messages with it. It still has that cool chat heads feature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it still cool?
Is it still cool is the question. I loved chat heads when they came out, and I just can't stand them now.
I'm sorry. I've spent 3 days actually using it again, so I was like, oh, I forgot this was cool.
Yeah, it's cool until until you realize when the paradigm breaks down, and you're like, wow, I have this chat head constantly popping up, even when I close it. It pops up again with every new message, and then I have to move it around. And if it's down at the bottom of the screen, I start typing in another app, then I'm tapping on the chat head all the time. And it's just it's I don't like it as much as I did when it launched. I really don't. I don't know what it is. I just think the notification shade is there for exactly that kind of thing. Bing! Oh, I have a notification. Cool. Let me look up there. Okay, I'll either deal with it now or I'll deal with it later. With the chat head, it's like you have a notification and it's going to pop up right under your thumb. Or very nearby it, and you have to either move the head or you have to tap on it. Like I don't know.
Move the head.
Move the head or tap on it. Make your choice.
I just found out of this news the greatest irony in a month ago. We had Adam Lane write an editorial about how Windows Phone doesn't really need a separate Facebook Messenger app. And then if Facebook was smart, it could integrate them all into the same thing. Yet now we see that Windows Phone is the one platform Facebook is not forcing this separation on. And you continue to do it your own way.
Not yet, but the rumor is that the next major version will will
lagging
bring it into line with stuff. Yeah.
You know, I guess I like the way things are going in Windows Phone.
It could change back.
Mainly because, come on, I mean, the problem with Windows Phone is that the People Hub is like it's what, 3 years old? Its functionality is 3 years old. There are a lot of things you can't really do with it.
Right. You can't even fave a tweet.
No, I mean, if it's going, if Windows Phone is going to continue being that slow of a platform, then the smartest thing is to just leave it alone, number one, or number two, to do what, HTC and Motorola and certain companies are doing, which is making these services part of their stores, and where you won't have to wait for a major upgrade to the operating system to get updates for those services.
Yeah, and I think these are problems that firm is probably working on, but I'm just much more interested in what this means for Facebook on the whole. Like, we're now in a situation where software builders at OEMs are taking their cues from Facebook because it's big enough, and Facebook Messenger is becoming big enough to be a force for change. And that's only going to get more pronounced with the WhatsApp acquisition,
I was about to say that, exactly. Yeah. I really want to see how they plan to integrate that, because WhatsApp is already cool on its own. I mean, I would rather delete Facebook Messenger and keep WhatsApp, but let's see how that goes.
Yeah,
I heard something about FTC putting sort of the kibosh on to what extent Facebook might be able to use the WhatsApp user base and their data for future stuff. So it might not be as easy as Facebook hoped things to be, but I don't know.
Probably not. But they've got staying power. They can stick around, fix it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about hardware a little bit. The Project Ara prototype.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm rather excited about this. What is the deal? This could be just weeks away? What is happening, Stephen?
Yeah, we are at a very exciting time in the development of Project Ara. Right now, the module developer kit just came out the other day. This is giving hardware guys the tools they need to start developing the individual modules that will slide into the Ara endoskeleton and give it all the functionality that you could possibly hope for. The endoskeleton itself, with the modules that Google has been developing, should finally be in a fully working prototype stage in just a matter of weeks. And we've seen a lot of it already with wires hanging out of it, hooked up to silly scopes and whatnot, but we haven't really seen it, just working like a regular Android phone, and that could be happening really soon. We've got this developer conference kicking off on the 15th. There'll be some videos being published. Phone Blocks promise they're going to host some videos from there. So a lot of cool stuff is happening right now.
So this is published by the MIT Technology Review, but where's this conference happening on the 15th?
Oh, I don't know. Somewhere. California, I assume.
I was going to say, I wish it were happening at MIT, because then I could just walk down the road and go check it out.
Lucky you.
Awesome.
Lucky you. It's funny. I actually asked this question yesterday on the Pocketnow Daily, because another news of Project Ara is that the developer kit is out there. So, other companies can now have the guidelines as to how to build things for Project Ara. And, so I asked the question, are people really interested in modular phones? And it's, I'm impressed at how many people actually want this.
Yeah.
I find Project Ara to be cool, but the phone looks so ugly. It's just I don't know.
I've never cared how my smartphone looks. This is exactly what I've been looking for in a phone.
Are you still using a Droid?
I still have my Droid.
Are you still using a Droid? Because if so, then I clearly understand why, dude.
Oh, I liked how the Droid looked. It was unapologetically ugly. I like. That's an interesting perspective, Stephen, because I'm on the exact opposite side. I need my phone to look good and to feel good in terms of hardware build and fit and finish and stuff like that.
It'd be nice, but I'm going to take something like this over a sleek, comfortable phone any day.
See, now if my phone looks good, I will put up with so much. It can crash. Every app can crash every 2 minutes if it looks awesome. It's just me.
I would have loved.
That's about our choice in relationships.
Yeah. What does it say about us as people?
You remember when the rumors of Moto Maker came, and I envisioned an idea where, I could ask my phone with whatever megapixel camera I want and whatever size battery I want, and that's really what I would have preferred for a company to give us that option, like what we can do with computers right now. You want a bigger processor, just pay for it. You want more RAM, just pay for it.
I want to trick out my casing. I want to have cooling fans on my phone that are backlit by fluorescence and neons. That's what I want.
I'm just waiting for the OnePlus One with its denim. That's going to be
yes. And I'm really going to be annoyed if OnePlus One beats Motorola to that, because the minute Motorola started teasing the Moto X with having alternative materials, we've been saying it on this show for months. Like, give us denim, give us a denim phone.
It gets dirty, just throw it in the washing machine.
Yeah.
No, you don't wash denim. Are you mad?
Wasn't there a guy who wore a pair of jeans for something like 10 years or something, or maybe a year without washing them?
Oh my God! Can you imagine that smell?
Well, apparently they were fine. Yeah, it's me. They're stuck to my legs. Let's talk about something else, unless Jaime, you had a point.
Mountain View, by the way, Michael.
Mountain View is where that conference is at? Well, I'm not going there. Okay. I wish it was happening at MIT. That would be cool. Yeah. HTML, Chrome, bunch of stuff. Speaking of Project Aura, there's another project called Project Hera. And this story, I don't know, Stephen, considering what we've talked about since you posted it, this story might be half not right? Anymore?
No, not necessarily. So this is about this report that came out a little earlier this week about this massive change to a lot about Android, how apps communicate with the web, how we get notifications, how multitasking works, and it's all very odd and confusing and centered around the idea of Chrome or a very tweaked specific version of Chromium acting as some sort of app hub, whereas normal apps or HTML5 based apps tell this Hera Chromium browser thing what to do. It actually does it then. And it would give us benefits like making our experience with the apps more easily sync across platforms. We could do stuff on the PC and then pick it up on the phone. But it's weird. It's not at all how Android works right now. And
the UI concept and the header image from Android Police is interesting. This mock-up of
these are all mock-ups. So what Michael was referring to there is there was a pic posted on Reddit the other day claiming that the Gmail this is also tied to a previous leak that I think Geek.com or Recode someone had about an upcoming revamp for the Gmail UI, which then later was assumed to be tied into this Hera thing. So the actual screenshots we've seen are inconsistent. They might not all be telling the same story, but this rumor persists.
What does this
I don't know what to make of it.
I don't know what to make of it either. I guess my question is, does Android need a massive revamp like this?
I wouldn't have thought as much, but Google might have a vision for where it wants things to go that just, if we leave Android's evolution to its current devices, it's not going to get there without this big.
Well, just remember, who is the current leader of Android? Sundar Pichai. He built the Chromebooks, and I guess what they're looking for is probably some sort of integration with Chromebooks. And we thought that it was going to be the other way around, and I guess it's not.
Right.
That's a good point. And also, you have no, that's true. And I'm looking at every platform now, and this is a similarity that's been striking me across the past couple weeks, which is that every platform is similar in a couple different ways. You have, almost without exception, a home screen area to play in to kind of do what you want and customize it to your liking. And you have a multitasking screen that shows you what's running, and you can close the stuff. And you have an app tray or drawer or list where all your apps live. And now, or very soon, every platform will have a notification center too. So there's these concepts that kind of permeate all of them, whether you're talking about BlackBerry, Windows Phone, Android, or iOS. And is it time that we had someone come out of left field once again and say, we're doing something completely different? We're making, notifications the center of the experience,
Now, one question. Aren't you sort of bored with the current UIs and the way they are? They've existed for, 6 years?
Well, that's my point.
So what?
Considering everyone uses a variation on the theme now, it does have the potential to get boring, right?
It's the longest time that that a UI has lasted. Like the paradigm of a UI has lasted, and sure, it's good, it's practical, but it's not perfect. There are some caveats to it.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, because on the one hand, you can efficiently manage your tasks. Anyone can pretty much pick up any smartphone. I remember my friend dropped her iPhone in the toilet the other day, and she needed a phone really bad. And I was like, okay, yeah, I know. So I was like, okay, borrow this Ativ Odyssey, for
such a bad friend
for the day.
Friend, Mike.
Come on.
But the point is,
you have given her a better phone.
That's the point. The only smartphone she's ever used in her life was the iPhone, and Windows Phone pretty much can't be any more different. You can't get any more different from iOS than Windows Phone, I don't think. And then she picked it up in a matter of minutes, was using it just fine. So
and she was complaining about it in a matter of hours, right?
No, I think she liked it, actually. I think she was sad to go back to the iPhone. But the point is, that interoperability is valuable. And if you have a platform that completely reinvents the wheel, and I'll say it again, like WebOS did, for all the great things WebOS brought to the experience, it also brought a very, very steep learning curve that made it difficult to sell at retail. You had gesture-driven stuff. People didn't know where to look for a home button, and they didn't know to swipe up from the bottom and stuff. So when you completely reinvent the wheel, you run that risk, and it's a very real risk. So,
and it's happened for years. I mean, I was looking at these quotes. Gizmodo posted these quotes a couple of days ago of the 10 biggest publication mistakes in history, and one of them was like, "Oh God, look at this."
Truman.
No, I don't know what it was, but it was like there was this quote from a journalist like 30 years ago that was like, "This new computer from Apple includes some pointing device that's extremely odd. It's called a mouse, and we believe people will not like it."
Oh, yeah, that kind of stuff. Oh, those are fun. Yeah. So you're right. So that's the counterpoint, right? Sometimes when you reinvent the wheel, it works, it sticks, and then everyone copies you, and then it becomes a standard, and you get to be the trailblazer then.
Right.
But the mouse, of course, didn't stop Apple from almost dying shortly thereafter, right?
It did, and it took 5-6 years to become the mainstream in Windows,
right,
for Windows 3.1 to come on board, because it never did on the Mac actually.
So I guess the point is, there's still any number of possibilities for where mobile UI design is going. We could see a reinvention like this. Would Android be the one to do it, though?
Could be. I mean, they have the willpower. They have a lot of stuff to their favor right now.
And they've got, you have Matias Duarte as well, who's,
Repeat after me, Matias Duarte.
Matias Duarte. I can trill my R a little bit like that. Duarte. I can do
Matias
that.
Duarte.
Matias Duarte. I like that. That's nice. You should say every name that I can't say. Hey, Stephen, can you stick around for Windows, or do you have to jet?
Yeah, I can hold on for a few.
All right. Well, let's give Windows. Well, let's give a few minutes to Windows.
A few minutes. Oh, God.
It's only fair.
It's only fair.
Is it over yet?
Shut up, Jaime. I really like this first news piece. Windows Phone to start flirting with super thin handsets? Question mark.
Fortunately, I don't think it's going to happen.
We got Betridge's laud. All right, what's the story?
So this Chinese smartphone company called Neo has this M1 phone coming up soon. I don't think it launched yet, but it had been presented as an Android phone. And then all of a sudden, this sort of not really official render shows up with supposedly depicting the same hardware running Windows Phone. It was on the Neo, the company's forums, but I don't know that necessarily means that an employee posted it. Some people pointed out the colors are a little off.
They are a little off.
In the live tiles there.
So is this like one of those mock-ups of the HTC One M8 with live tiles?
Yeah, it might be like that. But then again, we're also getting to a point here where Microsoft is getting a lot less strict with how it controls who's making what hardware with Windows Phone. We all these new OEMs popping up. Supposedly, we were going to get those, dual Android Windows Phone handsets that I guess aren't going to happen. But this is sort of in the same light as that. And there was a phone a couple months ago. It wasn't running Windows Phone, but it was the same hardware that could support Android or Windows Mobile Embedded, whatever they call that.
Yeah.
So wasn't that the plan anyways, for Windows Phone to at some point be able to be installed on any old Android phone as long as you pay for it?
Right. And that was supposed to be one of the highlights of 8.1, and the move to the virtual buttons is then we could support Android hardware by, that also uses the same virtual buttons. We don't have to have the capacitive stuff in place. So it would make it more flexible and be able to be used on the same hardware as these other platforms. So it's a plausible rumor in that light. I'm not sure the evidence is necessarily very strong, though.
I'm not sure it is either, but
the super thin business.
The notion of a 5.9 millimeter thick smartphone running Windows Phone would be amazing. And do you know, if Neo doesn't do it, if this just turns out to be some pipe dream that somebody dreamed up and put on the internet, you know who should do it? You know who should do it. Steven?
Apple?
No. Although that would put a hole in the universe, so that might be interesting to see.
Who should do it, Michael?
Sony.
Oh.
I cannot get past these persistent rumors of Sony still developing Windows Phone hardware or starting the process at least. It would be so wonderful to see. And with Microsoft on a roll with announcing more and more hardware partners for Windows Phone, man, I feel like that would be the huge news of the year for this platform. Go ahead.
But wait a second. Whenever Windows Phone 7 series was announced, and you guys even remember that crazy name.
Sure.
There were a lot of hardware partners announced back then, and a lot of them ended up jetting. I would love to see Sony come back. I mean, the Xperia lineup was born with the Windows Mobile phone, and they did probably one of the best iterations of Windows Mobile of its time with the whole card UI. It was really, really cool. And I remember how beautiful that phone was. By the way, it was made by HTC. But, we've been hearing so many rumors, and it's been happening ever since Windows Phone 7. So it's really hard to predict, man. I don't know.
I think it's cool to have some of those early OEMs around for the 7 days, and I'm thinking about LG in particular, fell away in Windows Phone 8, and now it's supposed to be coming back. That says a lot for the platform and its maturity.
It absolutely does, and it's gotten to the point now where I can pick up a Windows Phone, install the apps that I typically use, and with very few gaps be able to run my life on it pretty well.
What I'm saying is, it's really easy for you to just be like, oh, there's for anybody to create a rumor that way.
It's not like there's been just one. This has been an ongoing thing for a couple months now, talking about a Sony Windows Phone.
For a couple of years now, dude. And I don't know if it's going to happen, especially with this new CEO. I think he's like really, really stuck into his Android, mentality. I don't know if it's going to happen. That's going to be weird.
Wait. Are you talking about the new Microsoft CEO?
No, the current Sony CEO who's been there for 2 years.
Okay, I guess there's no actual story in the rundown talking about this. I just wanted to speculate about that because if anyone was going to make a super thin Windows Phone, I think it would be Sony. I don't think we're going to see LG do that. Their priorities lie elsewhere in terms of, as you said before, Jaime, battery life, camera experience, probably. I'm sure display. They're going to bring something interesting. I think it would be really cool to see LG bust into the Windows Phone or return to the Windows Phone market in a really bombastic way. I think it would be so cool if they just dropped science on everyone. They were like, oh, hey, what's up? Oh, yeah, Nokia, yeah, good to see you. Here's a 2K screen and Snapdragon 805. And a
curved screen.
A curved screen Windows Phone. Oh, my God, yes.
And then they're like, oh, my God, wait, Windows Phone doesn't support 2K. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, yeah. Windows Phone doesn't support screens. You stop torpedoing my dreams with your facts.
Dude, that's been the reality of Windows Phone for the longest time.
Then the curved screen can be at 1080p. As long as it's curved, I'm fine with it.
I'm curious. I couldn't find an easy answer to this. I wonder what the current thinnest Windows Phone handset is.
Ooh.
That's a good question. It's probably the Lumia 925, I would guess, unless I'm sure there are manufacturers I'm forgetting.
I don't think it would be with that hump. That's odd.
Well,
I don't know.
You don't count the hump. It's average stuff. No, the Yatives are pretty chunky, actually.
That's the thing. I pulled up just a few random figures, and they're all 9mm-ish. None stood out as really pushing the limits.
Yeah, good point. Lumia 925 specs. I bet it's the 925, though. That's going to be my guess. I love Nokia's spec pages. They have everything you need on a nice, clean page. 8.5 millimeters thick is what and that's counting the hump, it looks like. So I really think the 925 is it, but somebody out there knows better than we do, and they can call it out. Maybe Huawei. Actually, maybe one of Huawei's, because Huawei has those really thin Ascend phones, and they've got the Windows Phone versions of those too. So, could be. Speaking of not that, let's talk about one of my favorite moves that Nokia has ever made. We're probably in the last few weeks, if not days, of Nokia's handsets division being a Nokia-owned thing.
I don't know. Is this ever going to happen?
I know, right? But Jaime posted this story, and seriously, this is great. With the Lumia 930, just announced the international version of the Icon, essentially, the company is going to be bundling Qi wireless chargers in the box. This is something we've been saying that they should have done from the beginning.
Hallelujah.
Oh, my God.
Hallelujah.
Right?
Hallelujah.
So is that happening with every 930? What's the deal?
Well, here's the thing. And by the way, this is apparently only going to happen in the UK, or at least we're not sure. We're not. It's not confirmed yet until they start doing it. But so now you will have a bundled wireless charger in the box aside from the regular charger. And this is just, my God, how long has it taken companies to figure this out? You know, if you bundle a regular charger on a box, why would anybody want to spend $70 on a separate charger? Only because it's a wireless charger. This was the way to do it. I mean, I would even consider just getting rid of the whole wall wart and doing, just bringing the wireless charger. But obviously, you need to have USB functionality.
Yeah, you gotta have
that's the reason why the wire's there. But this is the only way that wireless chargers are going to be happening. If you start creating the necessity, and that's what Nokia's doing. They really want to create a push. They really want wireless charging to have the justice that it deserves. But again, they need to create a compelling reason for people to want to buy it.
So the first... Yeah, go ahead.
I first saw this. I was very excited about the news for exactly the reason you guys said there. This seems like what you want to do if you want to make wireless charging really catch on. But then I'm thinking, this sounds very familiar. Isn't this kind of exactly what happened with the 920? Because we had, I mean, it wasn't,
but it was only temporary, and they did it only at the Microsoft store back then.
No, AT&T was sending them, but then when AT&T ran out, Nokia stepped up to fulfill the orders directly.
But that was a pain.
It wasn't in the box. I think that could be a big deal.
Exactly right.
I don't know if that's going to be a big enough difference though to make it catch on.
I think it will. I think it is so crucially different to have something right in the box, ready to use on day one. Do you know how annoying it is to be promised, like, oh yeah, you get a free wireless charging plate? Oh, cool.
Just order it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You go to the store, they give you your phone. They're like, okay, here's your voucher. Now you fill it out on this website, and then Nokia sends it to you in 6 to 8 weeks. It's like, what? Get out of my face with this nonsense. No, you put it in the box. You tell people that the first thing they do when they take it out of the box, make sure you charge your phone before you use it. Hey, here's this really easy way to do it. Just put it on this charging plate after you plug that into the wall. And that is what hooks people right then. You wait 4 weeks for the thing to get delivered, you're already used to plugging it into the wall just like every other stupid phone that's ever existed.
Yeah.
So it has to be in the box, and they needed to do this from the beginning. I think this would have made a serious improvement in perception.
It can't just be UK specific if they want this to be big.
Well, right, but the 930 is already a limited release device.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, well, I don't know if that's the way to say it. It's not happening in the US, so...
And I'm really
happy. A lot of publicity there.
Wait, did Verizon give away anything with the Icon?
Maybe.
Icon supports it natively.
Well, wait a second. Was Verizon giving away that huge case that they sent to Taylor with the Icon?
The Pelican case? Yeah. No, that was a Nokia thing. Nokia's been doing interesting stuff with how they package review devices. The 2520 came in a kind of a regular looking box, but the box was made of aluminum.
But it was bigger on the inside.
Yeah. No, so... But I think everyone is suffering from this unconscious emulation of the way Palm did it with the, and I'm not just bringing up Palm because but I'm serious. when the pre-launched the Touchstone was the thing. Like Palm introduced wireless charging to the smartphone world, but the Touchstone was sold separately at an astronomically high cost of like $80 or something, probably because Palm needed the money, frankly. And we've seen other larger manufacturers take that same model of like pricing these things really high and betting on the buzz around wireless charging to sell these accessories. And it doesn't really make any sense because there has never been a lot of buzz around it because no one's done it right.
Exactly. So self-defeating.
Exactly. So I really hope that this experiment works well for Nokia, well enough that when the integration happens and we can finally call Nokia, Microsoft's hardware division, that Microsoft looks at the data and says, okay, every Windows phone from here on out that supports wireless charging is going to have a wireless charger in the box. I just think that makes so much sense. And Microsoft is already accustomed to losing money on things and taking losses to drive market share.
That's good for it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just couldn't be more excited about it. And yes, Stephen, to answer your question, the Icon does have native Qi, and I've been I have an Icon again, and I've been using it nonstop. It's great.
No, and don't you just love the fact that Nokia is going back to its roots of bringing the functionality within the phone and not having to add an accessory to get wireless charging?
Absolutely, because there's nothing less convenient than attaching a cradle to enable a feature that should be bundled in.
Listen, this is just like, for example, try to remember, guys, which was the first phone that you guys owned that included vibrating capabilities when you got a phone call?
My very first one.
Yeah, I want to say the same.
Yeah.
Wait a second. How old are you guys?
I didn't get a smartphone. My first dumb phone was 2003.
Okay, my first dumb phone was 1997. And back then, it wasn't included in phones.
You had to get a battery, right?
You had to buy a battery.
Vibrating battery, yeah.
A vibrating battery. But so here's the cool thing. I mean, this is one thing that you would constantly use, meaning it was still a battery and all it did was have the added functionality. And it had this little hump at the back. But the problem with wireless charging is precisely that. You don't remember about the charger until you go back home at night and you put the phone to charge. But then other than that, it's really pointless to spend so much money on an accessory that you will only use every now and then. So, for me, the functionality, like, for example, of that cup holder is like, wow, that's genius. Yeah. Because it's something that you that doesn't bother you, that's always there. You're always in your car most of the time. And it adds the functionality of placing your phone somewhere that will allow you to do that. But other than that, man, that's the reason why it hasn't taken off. And again, unless they figure out a way to do it like that in your car or something convenient. No, I need a bathroom, one of those things.
And they're trying. But this stupid standards war that exists is doing the opposite of what it should. It's not driving innovation. And it's not prompting competition that's doing anything meaningful. It's just resulting in a fragmentation of standards across devices. And now we have stupid charging pads in Starbucks that no one uses because they use the wrong wireless charging standard, and you need a stupid cradle on your iPhone to make it happen. And it's just dumb, stupid stuff. Just choose one of them and let's go with it, Let's have a wireless charging specific episode at some point in the future. In the meantime, Stephen, tell us about the schedule for 8.1 dev preview.
Yeah, we're finally narrowing down on when this is coming out. It's been rumored for the past couple of weeks. We've heard a couple of dates, windows, ranges, first half of the month, last half of the month, whatever. Joe Belfiore went on Twitter yesterday, said the Windows Phone 8.1 developer preview, quote unquote, early next week. We already heard 14th and 15th mentions possibilities, so this fits right in with that. So, get your phone set up, register for that developer account, download the Preview for Developers app, and you will be all set to install 8.1 as soon as it's available.
And you very handily bundled some links into your piece on that. So
it's the least I could do.
I appreciate that. If you're a Windows Phone user and you read Stephen's piece or the link in the rundown of this podcast from your Windows Phone, you can just very easily join the developer program, get that app on your phone, and be ready to install the 8.1 dev preview when it does drop. Whenever it does
baby.
Drop. Yeah. And you will void your warranty, but it's worth it. It's worth
warranty,
it.
Warranty. Yeah. It's very safe. This is code. It comes from Microsoft. I've never heard of anyone having a problem installing this. So, knock on wood, you should be fine.
True. We have finally, to close out the Windows category, we've heard a lot about the Verizon Samsung Ativ SE lately, writes Anton Dinoj, including some leaked official press renders, which make the thing look a lot like old Ativs. They're, for better or worse, Samsung is sticking with the Ativ design language.
Looks like the Galaxy S4.
Looks a lot like the Galaxy S4, with a hairline aluminum finish on the back, which is not real metal, no doubt.
What? A low-key introduction. Verizon just dumped this thing on the market. There was no announcement. Just pre-orders are open.
I don't know. Yes. I don't know if it's Verizon, dude, or Samsung. Samsung
is just like lazily just squeezing out these Windows phones every so often.
They like, keep insisting. No, we still like them. Yeah,
but wait a second. And there is nothing low-key about this phone, dudes. I mean,
5-inch 1080p AMOLED, 2.23 gigahertz quad core, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage, micro SD up to 64 gigs, 13 megapixel camera, 2600 milliamp hour battery. Yeah, it's a decent spec sheet.
It's pretty much a Galaxy S4 running Windows Mobile.
Exactly. Windows Phone. Windows Phone. Man, how many times?
Man, sorry about that. You know, when I saw these rumors of the Ativa SC, I was like, man, what are these guys planning to do? The buttons are still there. And I thought that this was going to be a Windows Phone 8.1 device, but it turns out to be a Windows Phone 8, eventually upgradable. But the phone looks cool, man. I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm really sad that Samsung is not giving these phones enough justice. I mean, there was nothing wrong about the original Ativa.
The Ativa S, I got quite a high score from me. I thought it was a phenomenal thing. But, you know, the thing is, in retrospect, I would have dinged it a little bit more for design because it's just so generic.
Now, you know what the cool thing is? Apparently, this phone includes the Watch On application. You know, the IR remote and everything.
Oh, that is good. Yeah. Because Samsung does a really good job at building that particular app suite. So, good. So if you pre-order now, if you're on Verizon and you really want a Windows Phone, you don't want the Lumia icon, you want something, allergies. If you really want the Lumia, the
allergic to the icon.
It'll ship by April 12, which is tomorrow. Is the day after we record this podcast, which is pretty cool. Yes, we've asked for review units. Verizon doesn't have them yet, and Samsung directs us to Verizon. So
now I feel bad ordering the phone because I'm making the people in the warehouse work on a Saturday to ship these things.
Are you going to order one, Stephen? Are you getting one for yourself? No, not now. Okay, that's the reason. This or the Lumia icon? Tony asks. So leave your comments below that piece. No wireless charging in this one, right?
Womp womp.
Womp womp, indeed.
Nope.
All right. Let's, Jaime, why don't you take us home with a little bit of iOS news?
iOS news. Oh my God!
But can I just say that I think this story is totally bogus. This can't be real.
So here's the thing. I don't think that the price tag is. So by the way, these are 3 pieces of news that are pertaining to iOS, and I would recommend that you guys read it on Pocketnow because it's extremely detailed. So there's this. It's not really news. These are predictions. But the problem is the predictions are coming from the source that's pretty much nailed it for like the past 4 years on everything to expect from the next generation iPads, the next generation iPhones, and the iWatch. And so, to start with the iPad, just to run down quickly, we're getting Touch ID, we're getting the same designs, we're getting the A8 chip, and for those of you that are waiting for the 12.9-inch iPad, you're going to have to wait till 2015, apparently. Then when it comes to the iPhone, interesting. So, yes, we are getting the new designs, but apparently the 5.5-inch iPhone is going to be the first iPhone to ever abide to a standard and actually give you a 1080p display. And apparently Apple is planning to push this phone to be like the highest end phone because the other phone, which is the 4.7-inch device, will include the same 326 ppi resolution, only a little bloated with its new resolution. But so it's funny how Apple wants to continue that 326 pixel per inch design where we have, how much do you have on that M8 or that Oppo Find 7? What's the PPI on that thing?
Actually, I don't know, but it's the Find 7A, so it's not the 2K, it is the 1080p. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I don't care, but yeah.
But the thing is, finally, apparently Apple figured out a way, and the reason why it's 4.7 inch and 5.5 inch is actually because these were the screen sizes that would allow for applications to not have to be rebuilt to fit the new resolution.
Oh, because that was the sticking point we were talking about for ages, right?
Yeah. So this is finally happening, but on the underwhelming side, apparently this iPhone 6 is going to keep the same 8 megapixel 1.5 how do you say it, minions, or how do you microns?
Microns, right? Right?
Yeah, microns. So apparently that's happening. So cool. We'll see how that iPhone 6 happens. But apparently the launches will be separate. One is going to happen first, the 4.7 inch, and then the other one's going to happen later, which I don't know how Apple's going to do that. But, the cool thing about this, so the iWatch news is that apparently Apple is going to make 2 watches. One is going to be a 1.3 inch and one is going to be a 1.5 inch, which is like, my God, can somebody give these news to Samsung to actually copy this? Because not everybody wants like a huge smartwatch. iWatch.
I like how smartwatches are so new. I don't yet have a good conception in my mind of what's a good screen size for them. And how big is 1.5 on my wrist anyway? With the phones, we're used to it. We know what we're getting with 4.7 and 5. But
right.
I don't know about that.
Well, we'll see about that. Apparently, it's going to be Apple's first AMOLED display, but it's not going to be built by Samsung. Only the controller is going to be made by Samsung, by the way. 200 to 250 milliamp hour battery, apparently. It's going to work with the Mac, the iPhone, the iPad. But, even more interesting is that apparently Apple is finally going to consider NFC.
Huh. Really?
Shut your mouth.
It's finally going to consider NFC, and that even includes the iPhone. Apparently, the iPhones are going to be the first ones to include NFC. So, apparently this is what's coming, but the what Michael says is apparently bogus. Is that it seems that the 1.5-inch smartwatch is going to cost thousands of dollars.
There's no friggin' way.
There's no way that's going to happen.
No way is Apple going to release a watch that costs $1,000. Yeah,
nobody is going. I mean, can you imagine? Do you like, for example, that the Voyager is it the Explorer edition of Google Glass is now on sale for everybody,
or it will be next week. Next week
it will be. But who is going to pay $1,500 for a pair of glasses that make you look really stupid?
And a lot of people are saying that this is actually a pretty smart move on Google's part because they're opening up to everybody, and it's a very, very easy way to gauge actual interest. And I think
not so enthusiastic.
I think that interest is going to be. Well, no, I think the interest is going to be pretty low. Don't get me wrong, but it's a good way to gauge it, though.
Right, and it's the same thing with it's the same thing with the iWatch. Who is going to pay? So I can pay $1,000-something, even $1,000-something for a full-fledged computer is expensive.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, but Apple's got like those $4,000 little plastic-looking computers. What is that? The Mac Pro?
What, the trash can?
That's not a plastic-looking computer. That's a trash can.
That's a thing of beauty. No, well, but the Mac Pro can do can fly a space shuttle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get a lot for your money there.
Actually,
here, I think you'd be paying a lot, and you have a little thing on your wrist.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, no.
And here's the thing. So there are other rumors that this iWatch will include like a UV exposure sensor, and it seems like if Apple. It seems like if Apple is trying to create, I don't know, like this sort of device that is not only just health oriented, it's not just a pedometer, and it's not just a heart rate monitor, but apparently they're like trying to create a tool for people that have, any sort of medical condition.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. Like I think that's bogus too. That's a Samsung move. That's something where it's like, okay, cool. Some people are fitness addicts who do our thing, so we're going to put a heart sensor on the back of this phone.
But it's a bogus heart sensor, man. That's not even you can do that with any smartphone camera and a flash.
But you don't. Sensor is where the money's at,
right? But no, like it makes a degree of sense for Samsung to integrate it into their watches. But that's something that's woven into their DNA. Apple is, I think, much more conservative in terms of the types of features they bundle in, and much more aggressive in perfecting whatever features they decide to include.
Right, but here's the thing: how can you reinvent the smartwatch? I mean, because
it's not even done being invented yet. It's still so new that anyone can do anything.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it happened with MP3 players. They weren't done being invented, and then Apple finally figured it out with the iPod. And the same thing happened with computers and with smartphones. So I guess the question is, what could this iWatch do that current smartwatches or dumb watches can't do? I mean, I'm not even willing to pay $1,000 for freaking Rolex. Why am I going to pay $1,000?
And you're not. I think we need to throw that out the door right now because that's totally BS. That is not going to happen.
No, it is.
Killer feature. The laser that can cut through the bottom of a train from GoldenEye.
Bingo. Exactly right. Yes, a laser watch. Nice.
Think of that. You guys haven't seen the new Captain America, right?
Not yet. No spoilers. I want to go see that. I have to go to PAX, though, this weekend. I'm not covering it, but I'm just going. PAX East. It's going to be fun. Yeah, so I think it's. But Jaime, do you have any final thought? Do you have any doubt that this is going to be the year we see the iWatch?
This is going to be so iOS 8 has no point in existing with its whole health book and everything, which is being rumored by 9to5Mac. There's just no point in its existence without a health monitor. I mean, you can't just strap the iPhone to your arm and use it as a health monitor. You need a wearable.
Right.
So, for me to wait for the iWatch until the end of the year, which is what this guy is predicting, is something that doesn't make sense. iOS 8 is going to be announced at WWDC. That's just the way it's going to happen. It's happened every year. That's when developers come over. So this is like the smartest time for you to launch an iWatch whenever you want to teach people what to do with it.
And when is WWDC again?
It's happening the second week of June.
All right. Well, that's... If we see an iWatch announcement there, I'm going to be really excited.
No, I'll tell you this much. When the first generation iPhone was launched, it was announced in January and not launched to the market until June, because of all the patents and everything. I think this product could be revolutionary enough to warrant Apple to announce something in June for it not to be available until when they launched the iPad, we had to wait like 4 months for the iPad as well.
Right. This is definitely a category defining or a category redefining maybe product that they would absolutely take that delay hit on. They don't mind that, especially if they can come in and drink Motorola's milkshake by doing it.
Yeah, with Android Wear devices starting to hit the scene this summer, Apple needs to step up and distract everyone at least.
Exactly right. They need to stop everyone from because they don't want to be in a situation where they launch the iWatch in August or September. But everyone's already bought a Moto 360, and like 3 people have bought the LG one.
God, that LG is terrible.
No, the thing is, it doesn't look terrible. It looks plenty fine. But next to the Moto 360, it looks like the most boring thing I've ever seen.
Anything looks horrible.
But we've actually seen the LG watch. The Moto 360 ones are all renders.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. When a render looks that good.
I want it.
Oh man!
You want the render. You don't want the.
That's exactly right. Right.
You should just wear some Oculus Rifts and just render a smartwatch on your wrist. It's actually going to be there.
That would do me fine too. And now I can get my Facebook status updates as I look at my fake watch.
Oh yeah!
Isn't that nice? All right, guys,
everybody's going to see you down the streets and be like, "Oh, there goes Mr. Pocketnow." Is your mom?
Mr. Pocketnow. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I think we all have work to get back to, and it's the end of the week, and we should get to the business of ending the week. What do you say?
What is this music in the rundown?
That's Ali Spagnuolo. Oh, you haven't been on since we started using Ali's music. That's transition music, which we're not using on the show because we don't have a feature. But that's Ali has written a track called Radiation, which is actually, Jaime, was one of the ringtones on the Nexus 4 and the Galaxy Nexus.
All right.
But it's actually a full-length song, and she has like millions of fans. It's awesome. So she's really cool. We're going to have her on the Weekly at some point to interview her about that once everything dies down. But we can't do it now
when that finally happens.
Yeah, right. No, but it's going to. We're going to have a golf. There's going to be a golf, and it's going to be wonderful. And that's when I'm going to do Microsoft Immersion, and I'm looking forward to that. And Jaime, and that's when Jaime is going to do his thing. You're using Mailbox on Android right now, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, we can't talk about that this week.
No, we can't.
We're going to talk about it soon, though. Isn't that fun? Stephen, you have to get back to your news shift, yes?
I guess that'd be the best.
And Jaime has to build the Pocketnow Daily before the power goes out again.
Oh, God, don't remind me. Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, then I have to go back to doing this secret thing that I can't talk about. So that is going to do it. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking time out of your day. But this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly is done. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Again, thank you for all your listener mail every week. We had so many awesome pieces of mail this week. I'm not even joking. I had 8 that I wanted to read, but we don't have the time. So even if it doesn't make it to the airwaves, we do read every piece. Thank you so much for all of your positive thoughts, and we'll get to some of that mail next week. Podcast@pocketnow.com. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got it marked as fave. Don't worry. Be sure to find us on Twitter. Stephen is at Stephen Schenck, SCEPHEN, SCHENCK. Jaime is at Jaime_Rivera, and I am at Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocketnow officially at Pocketnow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a review wherever podcast reviews are left. As always, our heartfelt thanks for listening, and we'll be back with more Mobile Tech Talk next week.
Dude, the daycare is... I have the barking dog, a passing dump truck, and the kids on the daycare at the other street are just going at it right now.
In addition to Sundar... how do you pronounce his last name? Pichai?
Pichai.
I'm guessing.
You're asking the wrong guy, man.
Hadron Harmon.
Harmon Kardon.
There are like 3 or 4 birds that are currently shitting all over my damn balcony.
Porch. Microphone.
Bye.